Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for our Santa Barbara South Coast Real Estate Market webinar. I'm Corby Gage. I'm the Executive Director of Coastal Housing Partnership. And with us today is also Kim Pascage from Coastal Housing Partnership. She's our Program Manager. And today's webinar features three South Coast Santa Barbara County real estate agents: Simi Orandanitis, David McGid, and Bob Walsmith. So appreciate you joining us today, panelists. Simi, David, and Bob are all part of Coastal Housing Partnerships Network. And as part of this network, these agents contribute a portion of their commission back to their clients who are employed by companies that are part of Coastal Housing Partnerships. So that is you, attendees. The format for today's webinar, I'm going to be asking David, Bob, and Simi some questions about the process of buying a home and how to be competitive in today's real estate market. The remainder of our time together will be for you to get your questions answered. So we're recording today's webinar, so we can send you the link to the recording if you'd like to view it again, or if you have to duck out for part of it. The webinar format means that your cameras are off and your microphones are also off. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A, and you can ask your questions anonymously if you like. And feel free to put those questions in the Q&A at any time during our webinar. You're not going to be interrupting anything. So when you think of it, pop it in there. And Kim will be fielding those questions for Bob, Simi, and David to answer. So before we get started, we can't stress enough the importance and value of working with a qualified real estate agent if you're buying a home. The market is a competitive one, and you want to have a professional on your team. So rather than trying to go this alone. So that's a really important part of your home buying team. So we'd like to take an anonymous poll to determine where today's attendees are in the process of buying a home. In that way, we can hopefully gear our comments to best meet your needs. So just going to take a few moments to get that poll answered and see who we are speaking with today. Okay, Kim, does it look like we have everybody participating? Okay, great. Thank you for doing that. So, Simi, would you like to start us off by just sharing a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Corby. As Corby mentioned, my name is Simi Orandanitis, and I have been a sales executive with a very premier local software solutions provider. I was there for many, many years, overseeing a group of approximately 50 sales execs, ensuring that they were successful. And I transitioned to a realtor just about 10 years ago, and I've been with Village Properties ever since.
Thank you. Happy to have you with us. David, would you share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is David Magid. I was born and raised in Santa Barbara, so I was one of the lucky ones. And I got to join Village Properties right after I finished my MBA. So that was in 2014, and I've been loving it ever since.
Great. Great to have you with us. Bob, would you share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Bob Walsmith Jr. I'm with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, California Properties here in Santa Barbara. I started in the engineering field. I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical and civil engineering from Fresno State University. Transitioned to real estate about 9 years ago. I love it, and I am the 2022 president of the Santa Barbara Association of Realtors.
Great. Thanks, Bob. You can see we have some great expertise with us today, and so delighted that you're going to be sharing this information with our attendees. So we're going to start with some questions that we have for the panelists, and then we will get to your questions. So David, if you'd start us off with, so what should someone do to prepare if they're getting ready to purchase a home, and what's the importance of a pre-approval in that process?
Good questions. Well, a good agent, first of all, would start you off by getting you pre-approved or pre-qualified with a lender, and preferably a local lender. They're going to be able to determine your purchasing power, your credit score, and if you can improve your credit score actually to get a better rate and even more purchasing power. So first and foremost, that's most important. If you start going out to see homes and open houses and showings before you know your buyer power, that might not be the best place for you, because you might fall in love with the home that you can't afford yet. So, don't go looking for those $2 and $3 million homes until you get pre-approved, of course. Understanding, what you can afford in your monthly payments. Santa Barbara can be a lot of sticker shock on pricing, but what's more important than the actual price of the home is your monthly payments. So if you can afford these, and that depends on your rate and your credit score, it's a lot less sticker shock. And honestly, it aligns more with rents. And these days might actually be lower than what some of you are paying in rent. So that's really the more key number to look at when you're getting pre-approved. A lot of realtors in town are going to want to show you homes, but very few will be ready for that process until you are pre-approved for those reasons. So really speak to a lender ASAP. You can get pre-approved online through, some of these older sites like quickenandbetter.com. However, when it comes time to compete for an offer and for a home, a lot of agents in Santa Barbara are looking for a local lender to be representing you, because they're hands-on, they will get the deal done. And some of these online lenders will give you a lot of fluff and kind of do a bait and switch quite often. So local lender, very, very, very important. Having a pre-approval in your pocket also means that you're ready to make an offer at a moment's notice. So if you're seeing a home, you fall in love with it in 5 minutes, which a lot of us do, and you're ready to make an offer, but you're not pre-approved, that process can take days, if not, a week or more, and you might miss the boat. So being able to have, oh, I love that home, let's write an offer, and it's on the table and being written in the next 15 minutes, it just puts you in a nice position to be ready. And of course, using a reputable and strong lender is really important to elevate your offer when it is come time to submit an offer for a listing. Banks are great, mortgage lenders are great, but every listing agent does have a preference. And as long as it's local, that's going to put you in the best position. I know I keep stressing this, but it is really, really important. There's many times that, we'll see a Quicken loan come through, and it's sad to say that those don't compete as well as a mortgage lender here locally. After you're pre-approved with the process, if you haven't done so already, it's really important to now pick your agent. As a buyer's agent, if you don't already know, you are not paying the commission. The commission comes from the seller and from the listing. And this is the majority of the time, unless you've had some other rare stipulation and agreement. So you're actually, working with this agent, and you don't have to cover any costs. And this is the same thing with the lender until you close, and then you have a couple lender fees, but the commission always comes from the seller side. So you want to pick a good agent who's going to be well-rounded, who's well-versed. Somebody that's a good communicator is always very important, but really important, it's somebody that meshes with you and that you can get along with, because you're likely going to start to develop a long-lasting relationship with them and talking to them on the phone and in person and seeing homes together. So you really want to make sure that you guys align and see things the same way and are on the same page with each other. That's really important for a smooth transaction.
David, can we go back to that pre-approval just for a moment?
Yeah.
Just wondering, that seems a little daunting. Is it a hard process? Is there a cost to that? Or is that something that is really not all that difficult and gives you a lot of good information? Give us paint a little different picture of that, if you would.
Sure. It's not daunting at all. Up front, when you're new to this, it feels overwhelming when you see all this paperwork being asked of you and numbers and all this other, but really it's not a big deal. They're going to ask for your, tax documents. They're going to ask for your job employment. They're going to ask for some bank accounts, basically all personal information that you have access to. And if you're well organized and you have access to all this, you could actually get your pre-approval done within a couple days, as long as that lender isn't backed up with so many people. But it's a very quick and expedited process as long as you're on top of everything. It does not take very much time. And there is no cost to be pre-approved. So the only cost when you are working with the lender is at the close of escrow. And they'll show this to you, that there are lender fees, escrow fees, and so forth. So that will depend if you close with them. But if you do go, let's say, get pre-approved with 2 or 3 lenders, a bank, a mortgage lender, just to see, if one has a better rate or you work with one better, it's not going to cost you a dime to do any of that.
Well, that's great that there's no cost to that. Do you find that people, once they've gone through that pre-approval, they wind up being able to afford more than they think they could? Or, how does that kind of pan out?
I think so. I think it actually goes in that direction more often than not, that you are able to afford more than you expected, because people do get that sticker shock and they say, oh, I don't know if I can afford this, $1 million, $1.5 million home. But when they break it down for you and, they simplify it by how much money you're going to put down and give you options to put down more, to buy down your points, a little bit more lender jargon, it makes it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you so much, David. I think that is probably just one of the most valuable things in getting yourself ready, is getting that pre-approval and knowing what your price range is. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Let's do that. Step 1. Yeah.
Yeah, step 1. Well, we got to get started somewhere, right? And I think sometimes people don't understand how important that piece is. They want to start with the real estate agent because you guys are more fun to work with than the lenders. And so they think, oh, I'll start with an agent, and find out that they really do need to take that step with the lender. So that's great to understand that. Simi, so that kind of flows right into a question I'd like to ask for you. David's talking about how important it is to take that next step and find an agent. What should someone look for in an agent? How do you know who the right agent for you is? What kind of questions should you be asking when you're interviewing? Do you interview a lot of agents? What does that look like?
Sure. Thanks. Let's start with, I was trying to identify one word that would help first-time home buyers. And here it is. So here's our little cheat sheet. So if you think of this word, it absolutely is going to hold you in good stead during your house hunting efforts. And I think of it as an acronym. So let's start with H. What's so important during this entire process? You will ask your realtor, how are you going to help me get from point A to point B? Point B is culminating in escrow and the realtor handing you a key and you becoming the new homeowner. It's really what we live for as realtors. It's very, very exciting. Other H words to keep in mind. How hungry is that realtor? What I mean by that is, are they excited about their job? Are they anxious to help first-time buyers? Are they so busy that maybe they can't carve out time for a first-time home buyer who absolutely does require a little bit more attention? And overall, are they happy? Are they upbeat? Is it fun? As Corby said, this is a very exciting profession that we're involved in, and we're helping a lot of people every day become homeowners in a town where it's not easy to do. So again, H, first letter of the word help. Let's move on to E, explaining. When you chat with these prospective realtors, how are they going to explain things to you? There's a very lengthy process from just looking at properties to actually then perhaps identifying properties that you will write offers on. And what happens post you becoming the homeowner? Your realtor will not disappear. They will most likely stay engaged with you for the long haul. Think about too, we talked about how eager are they to help. There are a lot of unknowns to a first-time home buyer. That's not a criticism. It is the reality. You don't know what you don't know, and that is the realtor's job to help you. Education, huge. Do you, for example, realize how many forms your realtor is going to put in front of you to sign? It's overwhelming. There's approximately 40 forms. So it's incumbent that your realtor be the expert. After all, they are licensed. We go through continuing education every 4 years. We pay a lot of fees for our memberships. So that realtor truly is the expert. They will help you navigate those uncharted waters. Let's move on to L. Really important. Most realtors are blessed with the gift of gab, but at some point we have to shift and listen. We have to listen to clients, to the buyers. If a buyer says, to David's example, they've been pre-approved, maybe they're pre-approved up to $800,000. If the realtor is showing that buyer properties in the 1.2 plus range, it's not connecting. There's a disconnect and the buyer will get very upset and turned off by the entire process. So listening is important. Likewise, if, for example, you as the buyer say, well, I work between 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. I cannot see properties, only perhaps during a lunch period, maybe after 5, etc. So if your realtor's going to accommodate your schedules, that's key to you. They are here to make your lives as easy as possible during a very tumultuous period. Loyalty. One of the first forms you sign basically identifies what the role is of your agent versus what the role is of the seller's agent. They're very disparate. So the seller's agent's going to try to do what? Secure the highest and best offer for his seller. And your agent is going to try to do what? Try and get you the property for the lowest price possible on the best terms possible. So the loyalty of your agent is paramount. States it in our fiduciary duty that we will provide utmost care, integrity, honesty, and loyalty to our clients. So that will be a question that I'd really encourage you to try to zero in on. And it will be very apparent to you as you start to interview realtors if they love what they do. If they do, it will be a fun journey and you will have a very good experience. One last comment under the L category. Are they liked by other realtors? There are approximately 1,300 members of the MLS. Not everyone is a realtor. We have, vendor partners as well. But just think about 1,000 realtors here in Santa Barbara. Are they well liked by other realtors? Because the reality is all realtors have to engage with the other party's realtor. So that will be important to ask as well. And last but not least, the P under help. Is that realtor professional? Do they conduct themselves in a professional manner, both in their written communication to you, as well as all of their interactions with you? And patience. Patience is paramount, never more so than with a first-time home buyer. Will they take the time to explain the entire process, including all of the forms that are involved? It's not uncommon for a realtor to need to spend 2 hours discussing the RPA, also known as the offer, with a first-time home buyer. There's a lot of boilerplate. And if you can do that right out of the gate, even before you write the offer is ideal, you have the time to ask your realtor, what does this mean? What does this mean, etc. So that when you're ready to pull the trigger, it's basically, here you go, realtor's sending you the forms via DocuSign and you're signing away. If you're waiting till the last minute to review the RPA with your realtor, it will be time consuming. And if there's one other thing I'd really like to recommend is to appreciate that real estate is so fluid. Things move at warp speed in this world, and we have to help clients appreciate the sense of urgency. So your realtor should just carve out some time to review all of the forms that will be involved. You will only need to do that once. Thereafter, great. The realtor will send you the forms via DocuSign and you'll feel very comfortable signing away. And that will take, as David alluded to, 15 minutes to sign an offer. Also, prepared. How prepared are they? And that's all encompassing. That's prepared within the industry. That's prepared when they're showing properties to you. Previewing properties. Are they involved in previewing properties? Wednesday, realtors get to preview new listings in Carpinteria and Montecito. Today is Santa Barbara proper. So between 10 and 1, many realtors are out there scurrying and they're previewing properties for their buyer clients. So they can in turn quickly call and say, Joey, Susie, I just saw this lovely listing. Are you available to see it? And again, many of our listings have time-sensitive deadlines associated with them. And I'm sure you've encountered a property will come on the market, let's just say Thursday today, for example, maybe they will be open on the weekend and offers are often due on Monday. There's not a lot of time to look at properties. So again, it's your realtor who's scouting out these properties in advance for you. And they should only advise you on the ones that will fit your criteria. Picking up the phone when we talk about professionalism, it's amazing how if you need your realtor, they should be available to you. And likewise, they should feel comfortable communicating with you and your preferences. As David mentioned, do they want to talk to you on the phone? Do they prefer email? Do they prefer text? So in summary, that would be my recommendation is keep this one word in mind. And as you start interviewing realtors, you'll think, oh, that's right. There's a couple of words and a couple of terms that I should be posing to the prospective realtor, because at the end of the day, we, as Corby mentioned, only receive a salary, a paycheck, if you will, when we are helping our clients close transactions. So our duty is to our clients to ensure that their needs come first, and then we follow secondly. So happy house hunting to everybody. We wish you all the best.
I love that that help approach. That's great, Simi. I'm thinking about one of the things that you said, and of course it makes so much sense, although I hadn't considered it before, that realtor is well liked by other real estate agents. How would someone determine that? Do you ask for references, or what kind of how do you drill down on that?
I usually like to recommend to buyers, go out and start looking at open houses. And you will be amazed when you start chatting with the person who's hosting that open house. It might not be theirs, but you can start dropping names. What do you know about Susie Q? And other realtors, it will be very genuine in turn would say, oh, David Moggett, he's great. Bob, oh, he's great. So look for their reactions. If you mention a name and you get a blank stare, it's probably a bit of a red flag. So I'd say it's the easiest way for you to gauge how well liked that realtor is within the community.
That's great. That's good to know. Thank you.
Welcome.
So Bob, what's involved in buying a home? What's the process of finding a home and then making an offer? And how does someone determine how much to offer once they found a home? It seems like there's a lot involved in that, and wonder if you could walk us through that.
Certainly, Corby, I'd be happy to. Thank you. Well, David and Simi did a good job of explaining the first two steps. First, you find the perfect real estate agent, realtor, and then you get pre-approved with hopefully a local fantastic lender. Then it's time to look for the homes. We all know that everything is available on the internet these days. Oftentimes, potential buyers find the homes even before we do sometimes with Zillow and the like. But that's the first place to start looking, but certainly not the only source. If you find a good realtor, your realtor should have access to properties that haven't hit the market within their own brokerage. The other thing is, if a realtor is very experienced and you're looking for a home, let's say in San Roque, that agent, your agent, should know the agents that specialize in that area, and they can contact that agent and say, look, this is what my clients are looking for. Do you have anything that's coming up in that area? That's another option. So in other words, find the experienced agent that has those really good connections. But then the fun begins. Then you go out with your realtor, hopefully, to view properties. I think Simi said it very well about your realtor should preview the properties with you. However, it's also a good idea to go out with your client, because then you can gauge their feelings about a home, and that can narrow the search for you, so you don't waste your time and you don't waste their time. That's not a good idea. people should write down the 10 most important things in a home that they're looking for. That way, if they go to an open house, which is another fantastic source of looking at homes and finding options, if they make the top 10 list and they go to a home, they start checking them off. If they can check off 7, 8, 9 things and they've been pre-approved, they should probably make an offer on that home. If it only does 2 or 3, then probably not. And the 10 most important things can be location, school district, size, can be various things, and it's different to everyone. So write down those 10 most important things and see how many you can check off. So if you find a home that can check off 9 of them and you want to make an offer, then it's time to really hone in on the expertise of your real estate agent. Because the burning question is that we all get, Simi, David, and I, and every other agent, is how much should I offer on this house? And my first question, or my first answer to them is, that depends. How much do you love the home, or how much do you like it? If they get this big grin on their face like a Cheshire cat and it knocks off 9 things and they're comfortable with the monthly payments at the list price, then that's great. However, we all know that in today's market, a lot of properties are selling for over the asking price. So again, are they comfortable with a higher price? And by comfortable, I mean, do you feel like you can still go to McDonald's and buy your family food on a Friday night? So it's not good to have the option of not being able to go out. You want to be able to afford it and be comfortable with it, because unfortunately there's no give backs in this business. But besides the price, sellers are looking in today's market for the terms. And by terms, I mean, how quickly can your lender close the property? Is a buyer willing to waive any or all of the contingencies that come along with the purchase? Contingencies are an appraisal, physical condition, physical inspection, and the like. So are they comfortable with that? And in today's market, a lot of sellers are asking to stay in the property for anywhere from a month. I've got one client 4 or 5 months. So those are all things that you need to rely on your experienced realtor for, and then you make the best educated offer that you can. And hopefully in 21, 30, 60 days, you get the keys from that realtor and the home is yours.
Well, Bob, that sounds like, I'm thinking about these terms. There's no way that, you're saying a lot of buyers might find their property on the internet. And, think, well, did I need the agent then? It's like, I'm thinking, well, there's no way they're going to know what terms that seller wants. That seems like that's really where the agent comes into play. They're going to be able to have that conversation with the other agent, find out those terms, so that you have a much more competitive offer. Is that kind of how that would go?
That's very true. And to Simi's point about being well liked, if you have 5 agents with competitive offers, but one of the buyer's agents has a tremendous relationship with the listing agent, you're probably apt to get some more information than the others because they feel more comfortable with you. They've either done a deal with you, they know their reputation, they've seen you at realtor functions, they know what kind of individual you are, they know that you're representing people that will close on time. So to your point, those are very important topics to bring up.
Okay, great. Well, that gives us a really good overview of that process. Thank you, Bob. I noticed we've had a number of people come in since we did our intro. I just want to remind you that we encourage you to ask questions, and any questions that you have, please put in the Q&A, and we will be fielding those questions in a few minutes. We have a couple more questions for our panelists, but please do put your questions in there. We want to make sure that this is information that you are looking for and that we are tailoring this to your needs. So attendees, please go ahead and drop your questions in the Q&A. So big question I always get asked is, what's the real estate market look like today? We hear all this about competitive offers. multiple offers, and how do you compete with multiple offers? Simi, give us a little feel for the market today, and where are we with this multiple offers? Just paint a little bit of a picture of the market for us.
Sure, I'm happy to. And again, for first-time home buyers, it might be very, very different than if you are a seasoned homeowner. So a first-time home buyer may be looking at a price point of up to perhaps $1 million. And they are very, very competitive at that price point. For example, and again, great realtors are living in the MLS. They love stats, they love the data, so they'll be able to just rattle off numbers for you. For example, in a traditional week now, in the middle of COVID, we're looking at approximately 24 new listings a week. And I just jotted this down this morning. So ranging in price point from $740,000 to $14,950,000. So forget about the top range. How many are below $1 million? Only 4, so 16%. It creates a feeding frenzy. So again, back to how do you make your offer as competitive as possible? We've touched on it. You find yourself a great realtor, you get pre-approved, you're poised, you're ready to write the offer. Things that might help, because it is competitive, and many, I think it's about 70% of our new listings are receiving multiple offers, and that will create the feeding frenzy, which increases the price point. So we always try to encourage clients to stay within their means. If their pre-approval amount is $1 million, that's fine. Maybe there's some alternative options that can be considered as a first-time home buyer. For example, when you're writing the offer, can you have your loan fully underwritten? There's a difference between pre-qual, pre-approved, and fully underwritten. There's just more steps. It's getting all of the paperwork to your lender in advance. So it's basically as good as cash. There would not be any surprises during that 30-day escrow. Sellers are really going to be excited about that, short of you being a full cash offer, which is not commonplace for first-time home buyers. Other things you can do. Can you remove some of the contingencies? There are several milestones during that escrow process. One of them may be that you can remove your due diligence. That contingency doesn't mean you cannot still have your home inspection conducted, your sewer lateral inspection conducted, a roof inspection. But if you've gone through the property with your realtor very thoroughly and you feel as if it's a solid property and there wouldn't be any real red flags, maybe you release that contingency. Also, can you look outside of Santa Barbara proper? And we do have buyers that just sometimes say, if there's only 4 homes for me to look at this week, can I either reset expectations? Maybe it's not the single family home. Maybe it's a beautiful condo in a great school district that you can live in for the next 4, 5, 10 years. Who knows what the market will be like in the future? But at least you've gotten your foot in the door. You're building up your equity. You're not helping your landlord get wealthy. You're the one that's starting to amass your own wealth, which is a great feather in your cap. And also, can you look outside of Santa Barbara proper? Can you maybe consider Ventura? Can you maybe consider the Valley? Nowadays, in the middle of the pandemic, many people are working from home. They're not even going to an office anymore. So if you perhaps work in Goleta and you have to make an appearance once or twice a week in the office, maybe you think about going up to the Valley. Maybe you think about Lompoc. There are some options, provided you're willing to just think outside the box in order to get yourself into a home.
Great suggestions. David, same. What's the market like today? How are you seeing agents compete with multiple offers?
Well, Simi did a great job. I'll start with that. Her and Bob covered a lot of those points, but one thing to reiterate, it is important to be flexible. Being flexible on your location, not putting yourself in a box, as Simi was saying, and being open, because you'd be really surprised when you start traveling around the Central Coast from Goleta to Carp to Ventura. There are so many gems of neighborhoods that even me growing up in Santa Barbara, I'm still learning about them sometimes. And you might find something and fall in love with it when you had no idea that you would like that area. So being flexible and open is really important, and being ready to see a home the day that it comes on the market, if not before. We are very competitive, and sometimes a home comes on Thursday with an offer review on Monday. But often enough, the seller sometimes will accept something before that timeline because they had a compelling offer come in. So if you're on it, if your agent is on it, when you see a home and you're ready to go see it the day of, that's going to put you in the driver's seat a little bit more than anybody else. So really important to have that timing down. Sometimes waiting 3 or 4 days, in this market for $1 million home might be a little bit too much. And stay patient. That's really important. Stay patient, as Bob was saying. Get your checklist. Make sure you love the home. As a first-time buyer, you're probably not going to have 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 things on your checklist, but that's okay. This is your starter home. This is your first home, and it's not going to be your last home, most likely. So getting in the door is just really, really important. So be patient, but also be aggressive when that time comes and the offer is ready to, be made. If there's any room for you, if you're saying, you don't want to leave the offer saying, I wish I would have offered, $10,000 more or $15,000. I could have had it. I should have done that. And you're kicking yourself. Do the best that you can in this market. Put your best foot forward so that the fact that you don't have regrets if you do lose out on an offer. Oh, well, we did our best. Let's move on to the next one. And a good agent will help you, guide you through this process as well. But it is very competitive. So on top of all those contingencies and all that, listening to a good agent and heeding their advice is going to help you in the long run quite a bit.
That's a great point. And I think, David, you bring up another valuable tip is that, you aren't looking for your dream home on the first one. You're just getting in the market, you're getting something that meets your family's needs, and you're getting started, and that the dream home may come a little ways down the road. So I think that's an important point to remember. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah,
Bob,
absolutely.
I know you have a lot of expertise in, helping clients deal with multiple offers, and any advice for us there, and any thoughts that you have about today's real estate market?
Well, I think my 2 esteemed colleagues covered most of it, which I appreciate. I really like David's comment regarding be patient yet aggressive. When you are a first-time home buyer, I think you have to relax a little bit, take a chill pill, and realize that probably the first home you make an offer on, you might not get it, but just realize that there's more out there. They'll be out there, and just believe in karma or whatever we want to call it, and say, okay, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. But be ready. And you could increase your deposit if possible. If you can get some money from a loved one, that's certainly possible. That helps because it shows the seller that you're really committed to that property. So again, my colleagues did a great job, so I don't have much to answer to that. We all know the market is extremely hot, and we don't see a downturn in that for a while, according to NAR, National Association of Realtors, and California Association of Realtors. We don't see a huge price correction as it was 15 years ago. So if you can afford to get into a home now, and you're going to be in the home for the state average of 8.93 years, do it. And as David said, don't lose a home over $15, $20 a month. Get into a home, build equity, don't pay for your landlord's Jaguar payment. Build up your own equity instead.
And Bob, you have some great predictions from National Association of Realtors. Any thoughts about interest rates, where they're headed?
Well,
are they pretty stable, or?
No, I think they're going to continue to rise. And again, I read the NAR statistics all the time because I like to listen to people that are a lot smarter than I am, and they certainly are. So the math says that if prices correct themselves in a year, and by correct, I mean go down maybe 5 to 10%. However, if interest rates go up 1 point, that will mean an increase in monthly payments of $873 in our market. That's a lot of money, and that would push a lot of people out. So the chief economist for NAR said, unfortunately, if you can, You bite the bullet now and reap the rewards later. Because how many of us have had clients that wish they would have purchased a year and a half ago and say, gosh, darn it, I wish I would have taken your advice, or I wish I would have done that. Now's the time to get into a home, to start building equity.
Good. Great points. Thank you so much. Now let's get to your questions. And if attendees, if you haven't had a chance to put some questions into the Q&A, please do so. Kim, what do we have in the question box?
Yeah, so we have a few questions, and again, please feel free to add those questions. The first question is it advisable to combine my income with my husband to get pre-qualified? Are there advantages and disadvantages to that? I know that's maybe more of a lender question, but.
Bob, you want to take that one?
I believe wholly in what Kim just said. That's a lender question. I know what I know, and I also know what I don't know. So anytime somebody comes up to me with a lender question, even if I feel like I know the answer, I will have them, or I will get them in touch with their fantastic local lender and say, they're the experts in this field. Let them answer that question. Typically, the answer to that question would be yes, but I don't know the specific details of the income streams, and the lender does, because they have all those documents.
And so that's why, Bob, it sounds like, choosing that right team, having a good agent and a good lender who maybe even know each other and are comfortable working together is so valuable.
That's a great point, Corby. And I think the team extends even past that to a home inspector, to a roofing company, to an electrician, to a handyman. A really good qualified real estate agent has those at their fingertips. And I'm sure we all get calls all the time from past clients, even potential clients, said, do you know a roofer? Do you know an artificial turf company? Do you know this? Do you know that? And it behooves us to be the expert and say, yes, call so-and-so, or call this person, or I'll send you this contact information. And that just makes us more trustworthy in the future.
Mm-hmm. So your service really kind of extends beyond just when that escrow closes. It's kind of, you might reach out to your real estate agent if you've had a good connection with them to find out other services in town.
Absolutely. If we do our job properly, then that's the way it should be. National Association of Realtors says that, and they do a study every year, and the report is absolutely fantastic. They say consumers will use their same agent 84% of the time, but they end up only using them 16% of the time for a second purchase because they don't stay in touch. They're not that valuable resource after the sale.
Good point. Now on this lending question, I mean, obviously there's a lot of nuances here as to whether you're getting, approved with your spouse or not. Sometimes if one partner doesn't have good credit, that's a reason not to get approved with your spouse. But if you don't, you can't count that person's income. So it's definitely going to impact your ability to get a larger loan. But there might be other reasons that this would make a difference. We do have a lender panel coming up on March 8th, and I encourage you to register for that. And that would be a great question for you to ask the panel on that day.
Yeah, definitely. The next question is, what are some considerations to keep in mind if your agent is both the selling agent and buyer agent?
Okay, that's a good question. David, you want to take that one?
Sure. So it's a very interesting question because us realtors have what's called the fiduciary duty to our clients. First and foremost, we put our clients before everything, including ourselves. So if you're representing both a buyer and a seller, you still have a fiduciary duty to both clients, which takes a lot of balancing and really just carefully going through the process in that way. Because there are items that you won't be able to share with each other, but then you are constantly questioning, I need to be doing my best for this client, so how can I not share this information? So it is a balancing act. It doesn't happen as often as two different agents on each side. However, some people it can benefit, some people it kind of starts to grind into a halt because one side might feel like the other side is being favored. So it's really important for a good agent to make sure that they're doing their fiduciary duty to both clients, make sure that, you know, they're not favoring anybody and that, you know, everybody is getting exactly what they're expecting. Really, really a balancing act, as I had to say again. But Simi, it looked like you had something you wanted to add to that. I saw your hand.
Just that I was going to echo that. It's truly the exception rather than the rule, right?
Yeah.
10 years, 2 times, because it's challenging to be unbiased because we want to do right by our client. So
Yeah,
So
I'm one time in 8 years for a dual, so same thing.
So is it safe to say it's just wouldn't, if you have the choice, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't, as a buyer, you wouldn't choose the seller's agent. It probably would serve you well to get your own agent rather than to be using the seller's agent.
I would say so. And you have somebody fully representing your interests only.
So that way you feel confident in knowing that you have that expertise on your side.
Corby, if I can add one thing to that,
Yes.
that is somewhat of a misnomer with the public, that if a consumer sees a property online, they think they can get a better deal if they work with the listing agent, and that's not necessarily true. David hit it right on the head. It's a very balancing act, and I've done it twice in 9 years, and I was scared to death both times. And I will not do it again. I just don't think that I am qualified enough, and I feel like I'm a good agent to represent both sides 100%. I would refer it out, have someone else in my office represent one of the sides.
I hear what you're saying. You know, that makes so much sense. I hear that all the time, that good agents really kind of want to steer away from that. It's really challenging to accomplish that and serve your both clients. And I think that notion of, oh, if I don't have an agent working for me and I use that listing agent, I'm going to save money, is generally vast majority of the time false. It doesn't work that well. And when you remember that the buyer's agent is paid for by the seller, not you, and if you're using an agent on the Coastal Housing Partnership list, they're going to give you a portion of their commission. The notion that you're going to be saving money by not having an agent generally doesn't make as much sense. And there's so much that they bring to the table that you really want to have that professional representation on your side. I think just in knowing what to offer in that multiple offer situation, how do you even know where to start? So to me, if that's all they bring to the table, that's, you know, completely worth it. So yeah, I think that's a good point. If you can, steer away from that.
Great. And then we have another question here. If we have an agent in Ventura, but we're also looking in Santa Barbara County, should we get an agent per county? Or is there a way for our current agent to give us listings in both counties?
Simi, do you want to take that one?
sure. Some realtors will be very comfortable servicing Ventura or North County, and they will let you know that. Have they sold there before? And they can show you properties, they can write offers for you, they can get you into escrow, and they can help you close on a property. Others will shy away from it and they'll say, that's not my comfort zone. And they will refer it to another agent within their office. So it just depends on the relationship you have with your realtor. And if you are confident that they're knowledgeable enough about whatever area of Ventura, for example, that's fine. It gets a little disheartening for the buyer's agents. For example, you have one that you've partnered with in Santa Barbara and one in Ventura. Think about the position they're being put in. The Santa Barbara agent is working their tail off to find a home for you. They might not know what is happening with your other realtor in Ventura County. So at some point, they might shy away and say, geez, you know, if Susie Q is working with Joey down in Ventura, how will they know what one or the other is doing? So I think it's almost a conflict of interest to have two realtors working with one buyer.
Even in different markets.
Correct.
Okay, and so would you, if someone does choose to do that, was it best to disclose that right up front and say, oh,
Yes.
by the way, I'm also looking in Ventura. I've got a
Definitely.
really great agent there. Are you
Definitely.
okay with that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. And I guess that would be the thing that would be of most concern is would an agent that's not from that county know, really the price range to know how to make a competitive offer? Would that be a big concern with someone trying to do both areas that maybe are two MLS?
Yes, especially if they're not familiar with that other area. Definitely. They'd either have to hone in on, comps and feel confident that they're representing their buyer accordingly, or in the absence of that, just simply refer it out. They can still very much be involved, but to a much lesser degree.
Okay, great. Thank you. Kim? Kim, you're muted.
Sorry. In this market, are there situations that allow buyers to offer lower than the listed price, i.e. a home on the market for over 30 days? I'm not sure that happens anymore, but.
Bob, do you want to take that one?
Kim, it does happen, but typically the price points are really high. However, if a property has sat on the market for 30 days, most people will tend to shy away from it, whether there's anything wrong with it or not. But then that is another opportunity for you to speak with your agent and say, why do you think it's been on the market for more than 30 days? Is it simply the price? Is there something wrong with it? Do we have reports showing that the foundation is cracked? So yes, the answer to the question, yes, you can offer below, but consult your realtor to find out, in their opinion, why it hasn't sold for that period of time, especially if the price point is about $1 million or $1.5 million, something along those lines.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Kim, are there other questions?
Yeah, and this looks like more on the lending side, but it says since COVID hit, and so many have lost their jobs in the last 2 years, has the time frame for employment history changed at all in order to qualify for a loan?
I would
So I
think
know-
that'd be a lender question unless one of you wants
Yeah.
to grab that. Okay. Oh, or if you would like to reach out to me at Corby, CORBY, at coastalhousing.org. I would be happy to speak with the lender and see if I can get that question answered for you. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I don't see any other questions at the moment.
Okay, so if anyone has another question, now would be the time to put it into the Q&A. Anything else coming in, Kim?
I don't see anything else.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll close early unless, David, do you have anything else to share with our attendees about the market or bits of wisdom that might be helpful as people go forward?
Yeah, get to know your town more, get to know your neighborhoods and your streets more. Some of the best things you can do is walk or bike around. There's countless times that I'm working with a first-time buyer that they have no idea of a neighborhood that's 1 mile away from what their ideal neighborhood is. And we end up finding something perfect for them over there. So just exploring Santa Barbara and the Central Coast is really huge. And oftentimes I also, buyers are looking for their homes online as well, like Zillow, Redfin, and Trulia, just as we're looking on our MLS. And once in a blue moon, you're going to get a representative outside of our county that is posting something in Zillow and Trulia that is not popping up in our Santa Barbara MLS. So working as a team together with your realtor is really important, because I've had 2 buyers that found a home online that was not represented in our Santa Barbara MLS because it was an agent from San Jose that was listing it. And he just kind of threw it in there willy-nilly, and we ended up being on top of it and searching. So both of you doing your due diligence, the buyer and the agent, you'll cover all bases. So I just think that's really important that, again, you're all in a team game together.
Okay, actually, there are 2 more questions that came in. It says, what are some real estate agent red flags to avoid when choosing an agent? I think we we mentioned a few, but I don't know if anyone.
Simi, you want to, that was kind of your question. Do you want to kind of, you were talking about what should we
And
look
like,
for? Are there any
and what
red
would
flags?
you yeah, and what should we consider that would trigger kind of changing agents or?
That's an easier one. I think non-communication would be a huge red flag to say this partnership isn't working, because you must be in constant communication with your realtor. So other red flags might be if, again, back to 1,200, 1,000 realtors in town, maybe there's a realtor who's just doing the occasional transaction, one a year, one every other year. They might not be as versed in, again, all of the constant changes that are occurring in this industry. You know, we have a brand new offer form, RPA. Took us how many hours to preview it and become conversant in it. And it just launched a month or so ago. So I would perhaps just shy away from the realtor who is engaging in real estate as a hobby. You know, it's just the occasional interaction, transaction. That might not serve you best. And other red flags might just be, again, non-responsiveness and feeling like that realtor doesn't have your back. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we are responsible for, is making sure that we're doing the best we can for our clients and keeping their interests at the forefront. So if you got a sense that it wasn't a good fit, definitely no harm in just changing course and finding somebody else that might be better aligned with you and your personality, your goals, and your work ethic.
And how would you do that? Will you just say, well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I think I'm going to go a different direction. You know, how do you do that?
I would do that. I would absolutely, approach the topic. If someone's not responding to you, is there something going on? We all are humans. We try to give people the benefit of doubt. Maybe someone's ill. Maybe there's family issues going on. But okay, Susie, I've left you 3 messages and I haven't heard back from you. And see what kind of a response you get. If it's a valid reason, great, understood. But if it's just sort of a very nonchalant, well, sorry, I couldn't get to your call, then you know that they're preoccupied with other things and your objectives might not be aligned with theirs.
Okay, great, thank you. Kim, I think you said a couple of questions that come in. Is there something else?
Those were, I kind of combined the 2 questions that were asked. So I think I don't see any more.
Okay, Bob, I'm going to throw it to you and see if you have any closing comments for us, any kind of final tips. As I asked David, is that anything that you might recommend to our group?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that I'm sure we all get questions. I get them all the time. Is this a safe neighborhood? Or tell me about, is this a great school? And because of our licensing structure, we're not allowed to answer those specifically. But again, if you are working with a really good realtor and somebody asks that realtor about a good school, you can direct them to greatschools.org or other sites that rate schools. And those are what we're supposed to do. Or if somebody says, well, is that a crime-ridden area? I said, well, I can direct you to the Santa Barbara Police Department site that gives you crime statistics. We're allowed to do that. But we have to be very careful about what we say and don't say. And a really good realtor is going to know how to navigate those waters. And the other thing I wanted to say is David brought up a great point. We have a fiduciary responsibility to our clients. So we have to always put them above our need of a paycheck. So for example, if somebody wants to work with me down in Ventura, I'll do that occasionally, but typically I won't because I don't know the market well enough and I would be doing a disservice. And I'm sure Simi and David would say the same things. So again, find a real estate agent that you trust, that you feel like you're on the same page with, that you have like values. The Wall Street Journal did a study 15 years ago and they said, if a consumer is going to check out a realtor to work with, they will check out their social media pages 7 times more than their business website. because they want to deal with people that have the same values. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Really interesting point. Well, our time is up. Thank you so much, panelists. This just been amazing information, and I'm sure it's been really valuable. And attendees, thanks so much for joining us and spending your lunch hour with us. And please reach out to Simi or David or Bob with any questions you have going forward, or you can reach out to Kim or me, and we're happy to help you on your path to home ownership. So have a good afternoon.
And we'll send out a recording of this too, so.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Happy hunting.